watching Bengals Breakdown by Chat Sports, and I am your host, Stone Shields. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about the Cincinnati Bengals got some good news and some bad news here today. A pretty incredible blockbuster trade went down here on June 30th. What a random time for such a trade to go down, but it certainly impacts the Bengals directly. And at first, I was like, oh, this is probably not the best news. And then as time kind of progressed, I was like, oh, maybe this is actually good news for the Cincinnati Bengals, and we'll explain that as we work through today's show. Before we get into it, make sure you guys hit that sub button if you haven't done so already at youtube.com/BengalsTV. Obviously, our goal, as we talked about here at the channel, was to break our June subtotal from last year. And as you can tell, we have a ways to go, and we are out of time. So we really need to pop off here on this video. I think the good news is a lot of you guys are going to watch this video, which is certainly exciting, and I would invite you guys to subscribe if you have not done so already. Whenever massive NFL news happens, we'll do a video, and obviously we have everything covered as it relates to the Cincinnati Bengals. Help us out. Let's at least try to get 100 subs on this video. That would be pretty awesome. Hit that sub button for me, youtube.com/BengalsTV. All right, so we're going to take this in pieces as it was broken today by Adam Schefter, Tom Pelissero, Ian Rappaport, all those guys kind of working and breaking this news as time went on this morning. The Steelers are landing Jalen Ramsey via a trade. Jalen Ramsey, of course, at one point was the best cornerback in the National Football League. He's a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, and widely regarded as one of the best cornerbacks of this generation. Obviously, that has a direct impact on the Cincinnati Bengals because it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, a division rival. You play them at minimum twice a year. Look, I want to be very clear. Cincinnati is a huge reason this trade took place. And you saw it with Baltimore a couple of weeks ago. That'll close out today's show, by the way. But the Bengals, obviously, what they have offensively with Joe Burrow and what they have with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Mike Gesicki, Andre Yosavash, the list kind of goes on and on. Other teams around the division, around the conference, and around the NFL are sitting there saying, well, if we need to compete with a team like Cincinnati, viewing Cincinnati as certainly somebody that is a threat to win the Super Bowl, they're going to have to get guys that can guard, and that is what Pittsburgh is doing exactly with this move here with Jalen Ramsey. It also shows you that Pittsburgh is all in here on Aaron Rodgers. You know, there was some talk about, Aaron Rodgers just kind of wants to play one more year and just kind of have a quality year where he can go out after kind of the mess that was the New York Jets. Pittsburgh's trying to win. That is very, very clear by what they are doing here. Paying Aaron Rodgers that one-year contract, they're trying to build around him here, bringing in a star player like Jalen Ramsey. They have their sights on trying to win this division when you're talking about Omar Khan and, of course, Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this just kind of goes to show that the AFC North is going to be war. It always is, right? We kind of always knew that. We always expected it. But for a while, it kind of felt like, it's a two-horse race between Baltimore and Cincinnati, and then Pittsburgh's just that kind of feisty team that's around 500, just barely over 500, but probably not a real threat to win the division. I think, as time has kind of gone on here, and I'm more of an Aaron Rodgers guy than a lot of other people, but I think now Pittsburgh has to be viewed as a team that could be a threat, not to win a Super Bowl, to perhaps compete at the top of the AFC North. It's certainly going to be a problem for Cincinnati, Baltimore, and, of course, Cleveland as well. Pin comment time here on today's show. What's your one-word reaction to the Steelers trading for Jalen Ramsey? Let me know. Give me your one-word reaction in the comment section of today's show. I do recognize I kind of buried the lead a little bit here. As I mentioned at the top, we're going to do it as things broke. And this morning, the first thing that broke was, hey, Jalen Ramsey's getting traded. And then we got some more details. Oh, my goodness, it's Minka Fitzpatrick that is going back to Miami in this trade. And this is pretty significant. Minka Fitzpatrick is a very, very good football player, and he is 2 years younger than Jalen Ramsey. Now I'm starting to think this is more of a good thing than a bad thing for the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Because Jalen Ramsey, I don't think, is the same caliber of football player as Minka Fitzpatrick. Certainly two different positions, safety and cornerback. But as I mentioned, 2 years younger for Fitzpatrick. And Fitzpatrick has caused you lots of issues over the year for Pittsburgh. Think about all the big hits he's had. He's had some interceptions on Joe Burrow as well. Now you don't have to worry about him. And in a morning where you thought, the Steelers' defense really got a lot better, now you're sitting here saying, shoot, they maybe get a little bit worse. I definitely don't think they got significantly better. Maybe they're in the same spot they were. But regardless, losing Minka Fitzpatrick is a very, very big deal. And as I talked about, I think he is a better football player right now than Jalen Ramsey. Several years ago, maybe not. I've always been a Minka guy, and I've really respected his game and the way he plays, and kind of he's a real cerebral football player, and also he'll hit the heck out of you, right, and flat out lay the wood. But losing Minka Fitzpatrick, I think, is very, very significant. Pittsburgh, obviously, looking to get another cover corner. They're going to now trust their safeties when you're talking about Deshaun Elliott and Juan Thornhill as well to kind of replace Minkah. But I think for Cincinnati, you're probably looking at this saying, well, it's going to be interesting not having to play against Minka Fitzpatrick, and obviously Jalen Ramsey is going to be that guy now on Pittsburgh's defense. Kind of scratch your head and wonder, did Pittsburgh really get a lot better from this trade? We'll continue with our show here in a second, but do want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Fanatics. It is almost July 4th. That means you can get some Cincinnati Bengals USA swag courtesy of our friends over at Fanatics, chatsports.com/Bengals July 4th/. Some of you guys have reaped the benefits of this and have gone over and made that purchase. I invite more of you guys to do the same. Really cool T-shirts, really good price, good quality, and obviously with the 4th of July Independence Day here, kind of can show your support for the country and, of course, the Cincinnati Bengals as well. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of today's show. So that really isn't the entirety of the trade. This is exactly what went down, and then as time progressed this morning, then the name Jonnu Smith got thrown in there. And, oh, my goodness, Miami is sending Jonnu Smith to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't think that necessarily has a huge impact on Cincinnati. Certainly a guy that they're going to have to deal with. But you got Freiermuth at that tight end spot. You kind of wonder what Jonnu Smith's role was going to be. Arthur Smith obviously has a lot of love and admiration for Jonnu Smith, so that certainly is significant. Something that Cincinnati is going to have to deal with, but not quite obviously as significant as Ramsey and Fitzpatrick. Now the question is, what's Jalen Ramsey going to look like in 2025, right? You've seen some up and down moments from him. Obviously, he had a quality game in the Super Bowl, unfortunately, against the Cincinnati Bengals. But where is he going to be in terms of his performance here in 2025? I'm really looking forward to that matchup twice a year with Ramsey and Ja'Marr Chase, and I feel really, really good about Ramsey not getting the better of Ja'Marr Chase and Ja'Marr still having really good games against Pittsburgh. And as we've talked about with Ramsey's contract, the new team, cash owed there at the bottom, $21.1 million. That is pretty significant here when you're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers adding Jalen Ramsey. They're rolling the dice here, and they understand that, shoot, if we're going to compete in this division with the Cincinnati Bengals, we got to be able to cover, and Mike Tomlin must see something still here in Jalen Ramsey. I don't want to say that he's washed, right? Like, he definitely has good football ahead of him. I just think he's no longer in his prime as he currently sits at 30 years of age, but it's really going to be a fun matchup. Jalen Ramsey kind of feels like a Pittsburgh Steeler, just kind of his play style, the way he plays, obviously the trash talking as well, so that's going to be a really, really fun matchup in years to come between Chase and Jalen Ramsey. As it relates to Minka Fitzpatrick, as I said, you feel like he caught a bit of a break here with the Cincinnati Bengals. He kind of was that center fielder for the defense, but will also come up the line of scrimmage, be really effective in the run game, and stop the run, hit guys hard. And he was the guy that Joe Burrow always had to have an eye on there in the secondary for Pittsburgh. And now you don't have that. And now you're going to have some more youth there in the secondary, and that could be big trouble because if, Cincinnati, one of your receivers beat that corner in man coverage and they're matched up against with a safety, I'll take that 10 out of 10 times with these Bengals wide receivers. No Minka Fitzpatrick is very, very significant for Pittsburgh. And my reaction, my takeaway after this trade has officially gone down is I think Cincinnati is in a better spot than they were before the trade because there is no Minka Fitzpatrick and there is Jalen Ramsey now instead coming into this Pittsburgh defense. But I want to know what you guys think. Is this good or bad news? What do you think? Pick one between the two. Type G for good or B for bad. Sound off for me in the comment section of today's show. And I wanted to close out today's show talking about Jaire Alexander. A couple of weeks ago, he signed with the Baltimore Ravens. We didn't really touch on it much here at the channel, but this just goes to show you. I think this move, too, is definitely in correlation with the Cincinnati Bengals. The Ravens are sitting there saying, my goodness, Higgins, Chase, Yoshi, Mike Gesicki, Joe Burrow. We got to get guys that can go out there and cover. Alexander also kind of getting up there a little bit in age, not quite as much as Jalen Ramsey, but at one point he was the best cornerback in the National Football League, and the Ravens obviously are hoping that he can continue to do that here in Baltimore. Obviously, you have a bit of a reunion there with Ramsey and Lamar Jackson, two Louisville guys, but these wide receivers, man, for Cincinnati, they are a real issue, and we're going to find out if kind of the dice that Cincinnati rolled really was the right call when you're talking about paying those guys offensively. Are they still going to be able to overcome some of the challenges that they have against them on defense, right? Baltimore and Pittsburgh have really good defenses, and Cleveland's a mess, but Cleveland's got a good defense as well, and the Bengals have been out there and said, hey, we got to play better within our division. It's not going to be easy. Cincinnati is going to have to put up points to prove that they made the right decision this offseason. And for what it's worth, I still believe they did, and I still think they will get it done. But pretty massive trade that went down here today and has a massive impact on the Cincinnati Bengals as well. Make sure you guys give me a follow over on Twitter at @StoneShields_. All of our Bengals Breakdown content will be posted to my Twitter page. Help me out. Give me a follow right now.